Hello everyone, this is RaySpace here with some far future and KSP interstellar stuff in Kerbal Space Program 1.12. It's been a goal of mine to try to figure out a around the solar system in 80 days sort of scenario where we get some sort of passenger all over the place and back in that time to mirror Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. But that is difficult. I expect that the ISP for the vehicle, the ship that would be able to do that, would be more than 500,000 seconds of ISP. So that's the efficiency we need to make it really happen within 80 days. But we have here an opportunity in the 2118 that I think is worth pursuing. But by my timeline that I've been working on, we wouldn't have the kind of technology that we need to actually make the trip in 80 days like that. You can see I've plotted out some alarms to get between the planets. And so the first thing, of course, we're starting on Earth, around Earth, really. So around Earth, and then we go to Mars. Now, what's the principle for how we figure this out and why this is a good opportunity? Let me start with that. First of all, we really want as many planets as possible to be lined up on the same side and really close together physically. Because unlike with Kerbal Space Program normally, where we are doing Hohmann transfers, which are just the lowest energy transfer, we're not doing lowest energy transfers anymore at this time frame in 2118 with Far Future and KSP Interstellar. We're basically doing straight line things and burning towards it for halfway and slowing down for halfway. So given that we're traveling like that, we want the planets to actually physically be close to each other. Normally with the Hohmann transfers in Kerbal Space Program, we're looking for the planets to end up on the opposite side of the sun from where we're starting on our home planet, but that is not the case here. So this 2118 opportunity affords us the lineup of Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus really easily. So that's the easy part. But then we have a really long trip to Neptune. That's the hard part. And Pluto I'm leaving out. Well, they demoted Pluto. Them's the breaks. It's really hard to deal with Pluto along with Neptune. I mean, when you think about it, you need Pluto and Neptune to be close to each other for it to be easy, right? And this is 2118. Pluto's orbit's like 248 years. Neptune is a lot, right? So we would expect that the time when they would get close to each other again would be, I guess they must be close to each other now. Or maybe not. I don't know. It's going to take a long time for them to phase too close to each other again. So yeah, that's just not going to happen, and leaving Pluto out is more or less necessary. Well, unless we want to time warp for many hundreds of years. So the itinerary is from Earth to Mars. Now you can see why that is. In actual linear distance, Mars is actually the closest one at this time. So we go from Earth to Mars, and then from Mars to Venus, and then Venus to Mercury. That's pretty close. It's also very important that we go around the sun properly and not try to fight against the sun's tendencies. It seems like it costs a lot more delta V to go backwards than it does to go just with the sun's momentum, even though the orbital velocities are slow compared to the speeds we're going to be going at. We're going to be going at like 500,000 meters per second or something like that. So that's slow. I mean, Jupiter's only going 13,000 compared to the speeds we're going at, but it still seems to be the case that it takes too much to try and go backwards around the sun. So we're not going retrograde. We go prograde. So we go prograde to Mars, prograde around the sun to Venus, same to Mercury. And then from Mercury, we can go out to Jupiter, and Jupiter to Saturn, Saturn to Uranus, Uranus to Neptune, and then Neptune back to Earth. So that whole trip, basically, I've got plotted out so that we take about 1 million delta V for the early ones, and then to cut down on the time, the later ones take more like 3 million meters per second of delta V. Though it depends. This one that I've got from Uranus to Neptune was plotted out for 1.2 million. but we might expedite that a little bit. So I've got some alternate ones here depending on how much I want to spend, but I've already got some ships cooked up, so we've got that, and I'm going to be testing out whether they can do the trips that we have planned. But basically, we're trying to get from Earth to Mars in 3 days, Mars to Venus in 6 days, Venus to Mercury, that's pretty close, in 3 days. Then the Mercury to Jupiter, that's a longer ways. That's going to take 14 days. And then Jupiter to Saturn, that's actually shorter than the Mercury to Jupiter, but that is going to take 12 days as opposed to the 14. And then Saturn to Uranus is really long, as you can see physically. So that's 36 days if we are still going with the 1.2 million meters per second. If we have a faster ship, then maybe 16 days. And then from Uranus to Neptune is the super big one, except for getting back home. Uranus to Neptune could take 108 days with the 1.2 million meters per second, or we could manage it faster with the 3 million version. So we'll have to see. And then a Neptune to Earth, if we are going to be going with the 1.2 million meters per second, is 80 days actually, just on its own. So I can't do around the solar system in 80 days like this with this plot, but I can do within a year. So that's what I'm looking at. The goal here is actually to create a story with this. So we're going to have somebody actually do things. Of course, when they get to places, they're going to have issues. That makes it fun. So that's important. But that's the itinerary. And the person will be changing ships each place, because that's how Around the World in 80 Days also worked. Phineas Fogg was not taking the same vessel all over. It's not like Magellan's ship or anything like that. Magellan didn't survive that. But anyway, but yeah, we will be changing ships. And so at each location, we assume that the fuel resets. The things are going to get refueled, and actually we're going to be on a new ship between them. So let's start out with the first ship in Earth orbit and see if I can really get from Earth to Mars in 3 days. So here's the first ship, and it's using an engine that I'm going to use quite a lot. This is the Cascade Axial Flow Z-Pinch Fusion engine, and it gets on the order of 300,000 seconds of ISP, and that means that the optimal amount of delta V from a ship with it would be like 3 million. But we aren't getting 3 million, and that's because we need to get the delta V quickly. And this ship is specially designed for getting the delta V quickly. In this case, in 2 days, but only 1.5 million meters per second. Well, apparently we need to... Oh, enable engine charging. Yes, please do charge. And charge faster. Okay, so we are going to try to get over to Mars. Well, we have an encounter, 3 days, 8 hours. Now we're going to have to slow down, so we should aim faster than that, actually. But now we're eating up a lot of delta V, though. Nearly half. 2 days, 17 hours. Well, we're going to try that. So, yeah, it's a big engine with relatively little fuel. And that means that it's fairly light, 484 tons, because it doesn't have as much fuel as it could potentially have. And this has 3,400 kilonewtons with 365,000 seconds of ISP. And it's that 3,400 kilonewtons that led me to decide to use this engine the most. It's just, we need to get to places fast, and we need the delta V quickly, and the other engines simply did not have the thrust to give us the delta V quickly. Of course, even as it is like this, I have to use Time Warp and Pekka's Warp Thrust mod. So let's switch over to here, and let me see if that works. Okay, so it's the acceleration thing. That's the one thing. It's got a lot of acceleration because of its thrust. So we're going to have to do it the automatic way. So I'm going to shut down. And then it's going to have charging issues. So using all engines is what we have to do. Okay, now it's using that engine in time warp. We are in interplanetary space, so we need to readjust, go to the maneuver. In plotting the sequence of alarms, I did give myself like a day's worth of room, just in case. Well, it looks like we just point prograde here. I zipped up the save file so that I can pick it up from here again when I want to do the whole deal sort of legit. This ship is, as it is, not exactly what I want. I want a different front end in particular. The drive section is fine. It's the front end that I might want to rework. And, you know, if we have some other options, I need a bunch of options for each era. And I still feel, even with both Far Future and KSP Interstellar, I feel like I'm still limited on choices. I need each engine to cover a wider range of specific impulses. Okay, as usual, we're about 10,000 meters per second off. Okay, we've done a day and 4 hours worth of burning towards Mars, and it doesn't have our maneuver, our encounter right there. I'm just going to do another burn to fix that a bit. Still going towards it. So we started 1 day, so it'll be 2 days and 12 hours, but then we have to slow down, so. But this is 244,000. That seems like too much, maybe. I think I did this burn a little bit early. Okay, well, 1 day, 17 hours, so altogether 2 days, 22 hours. Our schedule for going from Mars to Venus is in 3 days, so we just have to sort of be able to do that. I always have trouble figuring out when to start slowing down, though. I've got 800,000 meters per second of velocity. That might be too much velocity. I've gone too far. Okay, so we're looking at 810,000 meters per second. I don't think we have enough. This says 700,000. So I went a bit too fast. Or we need to pack a little bit more fuel in this. But yeah, let me redo this. And it's never gonna work with just what you plotted with Transfer Window Planner. Transfer Window Planner says 1.2 million to get there in 3 days. You can't. That's not gonna work. It's assuming that the burns are instantaneous. I am cheating myself into orbit, and I think I'll go for a more advantageous position, maybe. First of all, we should have the inclination already in line with the ecliptic, more or less. That's Cape Canaveral standard. And what we would like, we can, is for the ship to be behind where we go out. So 90 is where? 90 is over there. So maybe 0. The 0 is a little bit too close. Maybe 30 then. That doesn't seem like 30. I mean, mean anomaly should be like in degrees, but that was like a 90-degree jump and it only says 30, so I don't know. It's the way it's calculated. I remember there was something funny about the way mean anomaly was calculated, but still. Alright. So we're in this high orbit. I'm gonna go out. And this time I can't use quite so much. 3 days, 5 hours, so and we're gonna have to expect later than that. So let's go with this 664,000 still. Okay, here we go. Onward. But we'll have to see whether we get there in time. Now, the character that does the around the solar system in 80 days or around the solar system in a year, needs time to get into trouble or do things at the target locations. So we can't just get there and immediately hop on board another ship. 550,000. Well, can we do that? We've done 200,000. Let me just quickly activate this and shut down. So 1.33 million is what we have. If we do this, we have about 780,000 left. Well, in theory. And what kind of burn time? 20-hour burn time. Well, then the node is too late. If we can do it in 20 hours, we can do it sooner. Okay, here we go again. Maybe I should do a wastewater dump and waste dump. They sure created that waste in a hurry, didn't they? They didn't seem to be... I think it filled up the waste, like, right away. 2 days, 1 hour. It's pretty good. I mean, more than 3 days, and it'll be much more than 3 days, but it'll still potentially be on time. Going at 750. Let's try and get all of the slowdown in. Okay, so 727,000 is what we're looking at. And let me just briefly start the engine to get its numbers. $19 hours, no burn time, and it's got enough delta V by about 70,000. 19 hours of burn time. Encounter 2 days. That's too soon. Well, it's got enough delta V if we could do the burn quickly, but if we have to do it earlier, that throws things off a lot more. And that is always the trouble. The thing is, so we're doing this burn 1 day, 21 hours, right? And right now, our encounter's gotta be in 2 days, 1 hour, which means there's only 5 hours between that and that, but we're slowing down at the same time. Now, because we're doing it there, we're going to now encounter this at 2 days and 20 hours, which is later than I would like, because our Mars to Venus transfers in 2 days, 21 hours. So that's too tight. But so we'll probably have to rework some of these things or carry more delta V. But how you know, I have to actually do this, and it's tricky. Still haven't got the burn towards it for halfway and then burn away from it halfway thing down at all. But then again, this ship had only 2 days of burn time for a 3-day trip, so maybe we should have carried some extra. Carry the full 3 days worth. This says time to periapsis 4 hours, Mars encounter 13 hours? Who do I believe? Okay, well, I need to replot this. I think mainly what I need is just to go this way more. Okay. This correction burn of 56,000 meters per second. And capture burns about 80. That's the orbit of the depot we had before, but that's actually a nuclear saltwater depot, not suitable for this ship. I'll have to put a different depot for it to dock at, but that's after this initial testing. Oh, there's Mars. Well, we are officially going to be late for the Mars to Venus window. So I think I'm just gonna adjust all the rest of the stuff based on this. A little bit too optimistic. I mean, because my plans were for 1.2 million and I packed 1.5 million, I thought that would be enough buffer. It's not enough buffer. But rather than, I'm not gonna redo this one. We're just going to stick with this being the 4 days, 6 hours. I'm gonna pick it up from this date, October 1st. And next time, in the next video, we're gonna try to get to Venus. And I'm just gonna sort of cascade corrections to everything and adjust the next ship. And then we'll see what we can do. Okay, we are in a nice orbit around Mars now. And it's close to the depot I already had set up, but that's a nuclear saltwater depot, so it's not relevant to this. An inclination change will be necessary to match with a depot in that orbit. But next time we are going to just go with the trip to Venus, and that'll be a somewhat different ship. This ship again gets used on the Venus to Mercury trip, because that's another 3-day one. And that actually takes less delta V, because Venus and Mercury currently are very close to each other if we take a look. So that's easy, and I think we could legitimately make that in 3 days. You can see it's a little bit tighter. That's a little bit tighter than this Earth to Mars trip. But the Mars to Venus trip is 6 days as planned. I'll have to see, given the fact that we've taken 4 days and 8 hours to get here, how that works out. I mean, it's quick, but if you're trying to get around the solar system in a year or 80 days, you need things that are potentially even quicker. This is a strange vessel in the respect that it's like maximizing propellant and thrust and not really got the payload that we would generally want, but for certain people, if they are fabulously wealthy or important and need to get around the solar system quickly, maybe it's a thing. But we'll have to see in context with the lore whether this makes sense too. I'll have to cook up some explanation for a ship like this. It can't exist just for our Traveler, after all. The Traveler has to take advantage of things that already exist. So that's going to be an interesting side issue. But anyway, there we have it. This got to Mars, and I'll continue this string of planned missions. And the next one, I'll just cheat into orbit around Mars and go from there. But it'll be a somewhat different ship. And ultimately, we will have ships that don't use the Z-pinch drive. There's the nuclear saltwater drive. That's the Damascus one from KSP Interstellar. And also antimatter fusion that we can use. But we're looking at ships that have 6-digit seconds of ISP right now. I'm avoiding the ones with 7-digit seconds of ISP. Those exist. But and those would easily handle the 80 days, but I'm making it a little bit harder on myself. So we'll see how that goes. So with that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.